One foolish politician can spell devastation for the entire world. On 2nd April 2025, Donald Trump announced his presidential tariffs. He imposed tariffs on more than 90 countries, and in his typical dramatic way, he said,
"Many countries have. They've ripped us off left and right. But now it's our turn to do the ripping."
In his opinion, the rest of the world have been looting America for a long time. Once he announced this, share markets all over the world crashed. Within a week, trillions of dollars were lost and the world is in danger of a global recession. Stock market fell drastically everywhere. The strange and childish way that things have been handled here can be seen from this example. On 2nd April, Donald Trump imposed a 34% tariff on China. 2 days later, in response to this, China imposed 34% tariff on America. Trump did not like this, so he told China to withdraw their newly imposed tariffs. If they don't, he said that he will impose another 50%. But China is adamant on its stance. And on 9th April, America imposes a further 50% tariff on China. And in response to this, China imposes another 50% on America. And so these two countries are engaged in a game of tit for tat type. But basically, this might come to your mind, what is a tariff? So let me explain. A tariff is a type of tax. Okay, so this tax is imposed on goods imported from abroad. For example, if you buy a smartphone made outside India, like an iPhone in India, then a 15% import tax is imposed on it by the Indian government. So import tax is also a type of tariff. Things like clothes attract like around 20 to 25% import duty. There are mainly two reasons behind imposing tariffs. First, to boost the government's revenue. Like the other taxes, this is a source of government's income. And the second reason is to protect local industries. Since by imposing tariffs, goods imported from foreign countries become really expensive and the domestically produced goods remain comparatively cheaper. So people are incentivized to buy more of these domestic products. That's how local industries get an advantage. And many countries impose tariffs because of this. And there's nothing wrong with it. In fact, if tariffs are imposed smartly, then it helps the country's economy. For example, let's take South Korea. There, during the 1980s and 1990s, the farmers were facing a lot of difficulties. The farmers didn't have access to modern technology, so the prices at which they could sell their rice to their country was much higher than the cost imported rice from America, Thailand and Vietnam. So this proves that tariffs aren't a negative step in or of itself. Right? So the question here is, how are the tariffs imposed? On which things? On which countries? Because think about things from a different perspective. From the perspective of the country which exports its goods to another country, suppose that India exports a lot of medicines to South Korea. So much so that South Korea becomes the largest consumer of Indian medicines. And one day, suddenly, South Korea imposes a 100% tariff on the medicines imported from India. South Korea wants to promote its domestic medicine industries. But how would India feel in this situation? India won't be happy at this, especially if South Korea is the biggest consumer of Indian medicines. Because India's domestic industry would be destroyed if the medicines stop selling in South Korea. Are you getting me? So this is why when a country imposes tariffs to protect its local industry, it can be damaging to other countries. So there are many cases where the exporting country doesn't like it, so it retaliates and imposes tariffs on first country. This is how a tariff war starts, and friendly negotiations. That is crucial. But Donald Trump did not consult anyone and impose tariffs on 90 countries out of nowhere. So on his part, Donald Trump said that he imposed tariffs to reduce America's trade deficit. That's why on the day he imposed tariffs, he named it Liberation Day. Now if you want to ask what is trade deficit, let's take the example of two countries. One is America and the other is China. Assume that the total goods exported by America to China is worth 1 billion. And the total goods exported by China to America is worth 2 billion. So here, expenses minus revenue, that is, America's trade deficit is at 1 billion. So the difference, it's the difference, 2 billion minus 1 billion. So the difference between export and import. Now, being in a trade deficit isn't inherently wrong, but Trump thinks that America's trade deficit is detrimental. And to get out of this trade deficit, he claims to have imposed these tariffs. And to impose these tariffs, he went as far as to use the emergency powers. I'm not kidding, but he declared being in a trade deficit to be a national emergency. Seriously? You know what? Heard Island and McDonald Island are some islands near Antarctica. No humans live there. No human has even gone there in the last 10 years. There are only penguins on that island. But now, Trump imposed a 10% tariff on these islands as well. Let's check out how the penguins react to Mr. Trump's announcement. But no, seriously, these islands are so isolated that you need to take a 2-week long boat journey from Australia. God knows, will definitely cause them harm. And both sides will suffer. The country from where you import the goods and the businesses of that country would be affected. People will buy fewer goods, but in your own country, when foreign goods get expensive, and not just a few things, but when almost everything gets more expensive, the brunt of all will be borne by the common man's pockets. America plays a very important role, but now, after Trump's presidency, everything has turned upside down. Other countries aren't sure how much they can trust America. So, friends, what do you think? Comment down below. Perhaps even Trump won't know the right answer to this because perhaps he doesn't know what he wants to do. See, it's the same as trying to kill a cockroach in your home by setting the whole house on fire. And this is the same logic behind demonetization. But its impact is 10 times worse. Let's see how it turns out to be. Maybe we can see the changes in the next couple of days, weeks, months, years. We don't know. Comment down what do you think about this. So if you have watched till the end, thank you so much. It literally means a lot. It's always a good feeling knowing about what is happening nationally, internationally. So thank you for watching till the end. Thank you so much.